This is the Gambling Gauchos.
Hey, if we keep playing and fighting for each other, and no matter what happens, we just say, what's next? That's all we do. Somebody turn on some damn
music! You're listening to the Gambling Gauchos. Talking Texas Tech, betting on the Big 12 and beyond. We've got everything you need: money lines, memes, and matadors.
Well, you want to quit, Ethan? That'll be the day.
Now, here's Kyle Jacobson and Rob Bro, the money line matadors, the casino cowboys, the parlay picadors.
You see, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns, and those who dig. You dig. With
the Gambling Gauchos. Oh, and one more thing. It's all West Texas. It always has been.
Welcome to the Gambling Gauchos. I'm Rob Bro. He's Kyle Jacobson, live at the Cardinals Sports Center studio. If you need to gear up for baseball, Little League, any Texas Tech event, the spring game this weekend, if you need a new Texas Tech hat to go out to the spring game, you can get it at Cardinals Sports Center right outside the Loop in Lubbock, Texas, or online, mycardinalsports.com. You can also get some Gambling Gauchos gear over there. Maybe some new stuff coming, Kyle. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
You get some, it's all West Texas gear for the people.
Some gas.
Some gas gear. There you go. Just trying to say as many G words as possible.
Yeah.
First comment in, Rob's screen name is Blasphemy. The 2023 AO West champions. Heated game over there. I don't know what happened with the bases loaded. Jackson, you can update us.
Yeah, I'm nervous. I came in here right as Yordan Alvarez was coming.
Yeah.
They were down 5. It was 6-1. He was coming up to the plate with the bases juiced. So I hope we got out of that.
Looks like they did. Top 8th, base runner on, no outs. So
nice.
You used Burke, and then Hernandez came in phase 3. So you had 3 pitching changes in 1 inning, which a little bit frustrating, but
Bochy's looking good, man. Our Rangers, AL West leaders.
Our Rangers. Young got the 3rd out, Jackson says. So
hey, don't mock our Rangers too much. Like, I grew up in Texas, not an Astros fan.
I didn't mock it.
Did you see my Mets beat my A's in extras today?
Can't even keep them straight. No, I didn't see that. I think the Mets would be the most frustrating fan to be a fan of. I don't think I could do it.
Like half the Major League Baseball teams are teams that I root for. So,
you have to do something to have an excitement level on the MLB.
I legitimately do. There's like 1 or 2 random things that attract me to a dozen different teams. So,
and then when they expand, you'll have even more options. You'll get the Vegas team, the Salt Lake team.
I'm probably not Salt Lake, but Vegas, yeah.
I still want to go to a Chiefs game in Vegas. I'm going to try to make that happen this year when the schedule comes out. Hopefully it's after like a late December game so we can get to Vegas. That'd be awesome.
You should come to Tarrant County and watch some Rangers games with me.
I'm in. I mean, I have thought about it nearly every summer to get like the 10-pack of tickets. Try to go out for a couple of weekends.
Yeah.
And with Young now, I mean, absolutely. You got to support the Texas Tech Red Raiders.
Yeah.
The Twins come to Texas. We can get both your teams there. Who would you root for, Twins, Rangers?
I would root for Josh Young to go 5 for 5 with the cycle and a grand slam, and the Twins win by 1 in extras.
Fair.
Unless the Twins were out of the postseason hunt, then I would root for the Rangers.
Everybody's in the postseason hunt anymore, at least through the All-Star break.
Yeah, I was talking about like if they came in July or something.
Yeah. Anyways, it always is a little. You don't have to explain it again, but your Minnesota fandom is just kind of funny to me. Not out of place,
random.
but I mean, it's not. It's familiar, familial.
Yeah.
Most are. All right, the Commanders getting sold. You want to talk about that?
No.
Okay. Texas Tech baseball winning a series in Norman this weekend. Again, in baseball, I think so many people just focus on individual games. So this series is going to leave a dirty taste in people's mouths because you lost on Sunday. You won the series. In baseball, it is a full 3-game game, and you won the game. So good job, Texas Tech. You absolutely needed that. A sweep would have been awesome. But winning series is all you can do, and Baylor also helped you out by getting one in Austin, or I guess they were in Waco, but getting one from Texas. So I think it was a good weekend for Texas Tech.
Yeah, Baylor almost got 2. That would have been really helpful, especially if you
Almost.
could have completed the sweep. That would have been amazing. Yeah, I said before the week that I wanted to win 3 of the 5 games, 2 in Palo Alto, 3 in Norman. 5 road games, if you're above 500 on the road, that's awesome. And so, in one sense, the games against Stanford were more important because they were bigger for your RPI. On the other hand, games in Norman are more important because they impact the conference standings. And so the way I viewed it, I was like, you basically win any 3 of the 5 and I'll be happy. If you go 0 in Palo Alto and then sweep, you got to be happy with that. If you win 2 in Palo Alto and then only get 1 in the weekend series, you still, I think, can find a lot of positives in that. So, yeah, you always get greedy when you go up 2-0 in a weekend series. And you're exactly right. It matters so much fan perception-wise, the order in which you win or lose the games, because if you lose Friday and then you win the series 2-1, everybody's like over the moon. If you win Friday, lose Saturday, and win the rubber match, everybody's pretty happy. But if you're going for the sweep and then you lose, it's like, oh, well, we left so much meat on the bone there.
Yeah.
So I get it. I mean, I was greedy. I wanted the sweep. I thought that you were certainly the better team. Just kind of had a rough go of it on Sunday, which was unfortunate.
Yeah, and it was, I thought Jacob Rogers pitched pretty well. Derek Bridges had some trouble today. It was really nice to see Bo Blessy out there. He struck out 2. Obviously, he gave up the final runs of the game, kind of a walk-off in the 8th inning. But all weekend, I felt good about the pitching moving forward after Molina. The Molina start has me a little bit perplexed, if that's the way you want to say it.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have discussed a few times the possibility that you start to structure some of your weekend starts as somebody opens, goes through the lineup once, eats up 2 or 3 innings, and then one of these guys who's clearly more comfortable coming out of the bullpen, Kyle Robinson, Brendan Girton, takes over from there. I was not imagining that Mason Molina, who for all intents and purposes was supposed to be your ace this season, would kind of be more or less downgraded or relegated to that role. And I don't know if that's a long-term strategy or not, but it feels like with as thin as you are at starting pitcher, you need somebody to open for Girton and you need Molina to be reliable for at least 5 innings on Saturday. So using them both on Friday, if that's the strategy going forward, that worries me unless somehow Blessy can get back to what we saw the first weekend of the series or of the season when he showed he's capable of going 6 innings. But I just don't know if you have the pitching depth to use both of them on Friday night and then just kind of roll the dice with starters after that. I would love to see Molina rebound from 2 not so great starts his last 2 Big 12 series. I think you need him to be a lot more steady and kind of a staple in the rotation on the weekends.
Yeah, and you look at the pitching, there were some good names going today that just struggled. So is it depth? Is it inconsistency? Or are you just not very good? Because you had some names rolling out there now. You had some names that you haven't seen very much go out and get a couple of outs today. So that's kind of encouraging. The offense was more offensive the first two games than today. They struggled today. That's the way baseball go. Again, you won 2 games. I'm very excited about that. Gavin Cash had a Big 12 Player of the Year type weekend. Very excited for him. Very excited for Gage Harrelson. They don't seem like they're slowing down at all. It's kind of year one in a big time program. And, I found out this weekend that Tracer Lopez could have been in high school this year. So that was really exciting to
Is that
find out.
true?
I think I heard that this weekend.
Gosh, that was like bordering on Jordan Shipley and Colt McCoy were roommates.
Oh,
It was like they could not mention Tracer Lopez. I guess if he had like multiple putouts in one inning, they wouldn't mention it. But every time he came to the plate, they're like, this guy, his high school coach is like wondering, hey, can we call him back for our season? Because he should be in high school. And it's like, we get it, guys. Like, it's game 3. This is his 12th at bat.
his first at bat today.
It's like, and I know they've got their tidbits on every guy, like, oh, he transferred in from here, or this is how he's been doing the last few series. And like, they had one tidbit on Tracer Lopez, and it was that he should be in high school right now. And they just went to the well over and over on that. And I don't want to rant about the broadcast. Like, anybody who listened knows how bad it was on multiple levels. But yeah, that was Jordan Shipley and Colt McCoy are roommates level bad.
Yeah, I said today that was the new Jarrett Daigie's brother went to Texas Tech and they didn't recruit him.
Yeah, or Antonio Gates played basketball in college.
Did you know that? Yeah, today when he got up to his first at bat and he said, if you haven't tuned in all weekend, it's like we've been tuning in, man. We've heard it.
Yeah. So Friday, the other thing that was kind of frustrating to me at first before the floodgates opened later in the game, Jamie Hitt was OU's starter. And if that name sounds a little bit familiar, he was on your team last season. I think it's fair to say he's a guy that didn't really crack the rotation to the extent that he would like, and that was part of his decision to leave. And, man, was it frustrating to see him go into the 6th inning and, you're really not getting much off of him. And you'd kill for a weekend start like that this season in Big 12 play, at least. And so it's like, man, how are we processing guys like that in so many words? And then they turn around and are better than anything you're putting out. Now, Brendan Girton had a great outing after Molina was only able to go, I think, 2 innings and change. So we kind of discussed that strategy, but he sort of saved your bacon a little bit going 4+ innings, maybe even 5 in the middle of that game. Allowed your offense to claw back and then didn't quite close it out in regulation. But then, of course, the dam broke in extras there, and you wind up winning comfortably. Want to make sure I get this stat right. Give me a second to pull this up. So Brendan Girton, again, talking about that dynamic of how much better a guy is coming out of the bullpen versus starting. If I tallied this up correctly, and I think I did, as a starter this season, Brendan Girton, 30 innings pitched, 33 hits, 23 earned runs, 18 strikeouts, 22 walks. So that's 52 hits plus walks in 30 innings pitched. That's a whip like north of 1.5, close to 2. Not great. In relief, which is only 2 outings, so pretty small sample size, 10 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 11 Ks, and 3 walks. So the whip there is sub 1, ERA sub 1. Now you might wonder, how does that impacted by the opponent's face? Well, his 2 relief appearances were versus Gonzaga and OU. Their RPI as of Friday averaged 119. And the opponents that he's faced as a starter, I think 6 starts, average RPI 104. So very comparable in terms of caliber of opponent. And again, only 2 relief appearances, but if he gets a 3rd or 4th relief appearance like that, you have to call that a pattern and say he's just a lot better out of the bullpen.
If you told me preseason that it was going to be Gerton Molina as the 1-2 punch, I would just be very worried about the rotation, and currently I am. You mentioned Jamie Hitt. I did look up his stats earlier because I did wonder why he wasn't at Texas Tech still. As a freshman, 5.79 ERA, 5 appearances, 4 innings pitched. As a sophomore last year, 7.40 ERA, 17 appearances, 3 starts, 24 innings. Gave up 23 runs in 24 innings, 25 hits. Faced 117 batters and had a 13-21 walk to strikeout ratio. So, you kind of see it coming, but I would say Jamie Hitt was extra juiced probably to pitch really well today Friday against his former school. He's also listed as James Hitt on the roster. I thought that was funny.
Well, the OU broadcasters were calling him Witt with a W, and they got enough of our guys' names wrong all weekend to more than make up for it. But it's I kind of get it now. The ESPN Plus broadcasters are not. It's not like when Fran Fraschilla calls a basketball game. Like, they're basically OU radio guys.
Yeah,
So
it was.
you would expect
It was the OU radio call, I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, you would expect them to not be overly familiar with our guys, but you would also expect maybe some level of familiarity and research because they're alleged professionals. But to get your own guy's starting pitcher's name wrong when it's like on the screen, on the paper, like his name isn't Witt, it's Hitt. And like there was Voltak instead of Vuletich. They just didn't know which guy was batting. They're like, here's Hudson White. And I'm like, that's not Hudson White at the plate.
They called it a late change when Dylan Maxey had played catcher all year long on Saturdays.
It was brutal. A ton of backhanded compliments. Like the play-by-play guy would call something a flare single, and the color guy would be like, yeah, that's a good way to put it. It was really just a flare single. And he's like, yeah, this is kind of a softball swing at that one. And it was like, a rope down the left field line. Just like, shut up, guys. God dang.
What's crazy is the play-by-play guy, Toby Rowland, is like accomplished radio guy in Norman's. He calls the football games. He's very good.
I think he was fine.
He was. He had to deal with some old baseball purist that hates the pitch clock and just showed up and said, all right, what do we got today? Had no idea about anything. Didn't do any research.
It was hilarious.
Calling high school games in Lubbock, you just are at the mercy of Max Preps, and none of the rosters are right, and especially in baseball, there's no stats, so you just go in blind. But before the game, you ask the person in the booth or walk down to a coach and say, "Hey, how do you say this name?" Just out of common professional courtesy,
right?
And that's for a high school baseball game that 17 people are probably listening to. And you're going to put that broadcast on ESPN Plus? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. And there was a moment on Saturday. I don't remember how many runs. I think you had, at that point, maybe 6 or 7 runs on Saturday, plus the 13 you had hung on them the night before. And the play-by-play guy, the guy that I really have no issue with, was like, he was listing off all these stats about how we lead the country or the Big 12 in this or that. And the color guy's like, well, yeah, but just go look at the ballpark they play in. I was like, well, we're not playing in that ballpark this weekend, and we're averaging like 1.5 runs per inning. So explain that.
And then all the home runs to left field on Friday were wind dated. All of them to right field the next day were wind dated. You just look at where the wind's going.
Well, then every fly out that OU had was like, oh, if that was Friday, that's in the parking lot. It's like, shut up. Like, we're playing in the same wind conditions, man. Like, this goes both ways.
Yeah. It's just,
anyway.
Yeah.
When the color guy left for like an inning, I guess to go get some nachos or something on Saturday.
Yeah, he went to pee, they said.
And that one inning was called spectacularly. Had no problem with it, but gosh, it was horrible.
And people, when I complained about it on Friday, people were like, oh, we'll just sync up Haxton Lent and listen on Double T. It's like, I could do that, but that's not the point. The point is the Big 12 should be able to put a credible broadcaster for a national broadcast. This isn't just a Tech fan complaining because OU's guy is bad, because they're being homers. If I tune into TCU Baylor when they play, and I know the players better than the play-by-play guy because I've seen him play once, like, that's just ridiculous. And to not know anything, to not provide anything to the broadcast, and to be so homery that you have to turn it off, it's like the Longhorn Network. It's just awful.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, the baseball games of the Longhorn Network, I think, are some of the best in the conference because Keith Moreland is pretty damn good.
Yeah. Anyway, we don't have, again, I could go on and on. I don't want to make the episode about the broadcast.
And I guess we're, kind of spoiled because John Harris and Gus at least call it down the middle. And Gus has, at least 30 minutes of prep, it seems like, way more than this other guy. Not to say Gus isn't prepped. I think Gus does a really good job. And I guess that's why we complain about other people because, this guy literally had never seen Tech play before this weekend, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's probably a fair assessment.
And all respect to Toby Rowland, I think he's really good. But
yeah, I have no issue with him.
Oklahoma's the second richest program in the Big 12, right? Athletic department wise?
Yeah.
Besides Texas?
Right.
How can they not afford? And I guess they just put it all into football, but they didn't have PitchCom. They're going off note cards. And I guess that could be a coaching decision that they just don't want to do that. But you have the ability now in college baseball to do that. And to call pitch clock violations when the pitcher's off the rubber looking at his note card because the batter's not ready twice in a weekend is a terrible misuse of that rule. I understand that's the written rule, but if the pitcher's not ready because he's looking at a note card, not because the batter's not in the box, it shouldn't be out on the batter.
Well, and there's discretion enforcing almost any rule.
Yes.
Like, you see this in football a lot. When the play clock hits 0, they usually give them a split second to snap. Like if it's egregious, they'll of course call a flag, but they're not like glancing over and as soon as it hits 0, throwing a flag. Because again, and that's what they sent us to, a whole extra inning of baseball where 8 more runs were plated.
Yes.
Because they didn't want to wait 2 more seconds for Harrelson to, I guess, look ready enough. He was standing in the box. So to me, it's like, yeah, you said it, an egregious misapplication of that rule. Like that did not do anything to expedite the game.
Especially that one. And you cut out a little bit during that point, but yeah, you extended the game maybe 30 minutes more.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to speed up the game.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But by the way, the TCU guys, Lupton Beers, they did the 9-9-9 this weekend, 9 beers, 9 dogs, 9 innings.
Well, they tried.
2 of them did it.
Yeah.
In a college baseball game, that still seems like an easy task to me. It's not easy to do it, but you have 4 hours. These games are still going 4 hours. In Major League Baseball, you have a 2.5-hour game like today. Today would have been tough. We only had 8 innings, but it just is it's crazy. The pitch clock's been around in college baseball for 3 years at least. And I don't know, maybe it helped, but these games still seem really long.
Yeah, there's more free bases in college. There's more runs scored.
Sure.
Probably more pitching changes. I think that all adds to it. But yeah, I just don't. If I'm the ump and there's a full count, 2 outs, runners on second and third, I'm not calling that exactly by the book. Like the moment the clock hits 0, I'm like, okay, he's clearly in the box. We're getting ready. Like I'm going to wait 2 seconds and let this play out. Like that's going to make the game go faster than calling him out right there.
It's not even 0. It's I think 9 seconds.
Right. Yeah.
So a batter has to be set potentially for a full 9 seconds with the pitcher not even on the rubber. It's crazy. I don't know. I don't like that application of the rule. I like the pitch clock rule to speed it up. I hated Johnny Gomes when he would fix his gloves 17 times in between each pitch. But there has to be.
And how about a warning?
Yes.
Say like, hey, get in the box. And then like if that doesn't happen, then again, there's discretion in how you enforce. It's like a police officer writing you a ticket for going 1 mile an hour over. Like, yeah, technically you were speeding, but that's a stupid way to enforce that law.
Yeah, and then you have rules guy on Twitter. Like, oh, well, the rule states. I know what the rule states. That's why I said it how I said it.
Yeah.
Positives from the weekend. Obviously, you go through Friday and it's Gavin Cash, and then you go through Saturday and it's Gavin Cash. Defensively, I thought you looked pretty good this weekend. There were always some moments. I think this team is just kind of built that way. Unfortunately.
How about Ryan Free?
Ryan Free, Brendan Girton out of the bullpen. Beckel battled. I think Beckel's going through a bit of a slump, which is hilarious to say because he's given up 1 run, I think, in 2 appearances. So, I mean, that's bad for Brendan Beckel because he had like 20 innings with no runs. So, he looks really good in a slump. But Ryan Free, huge finish to that Friday game.
Well, and I opined in the Discord, which if you want to join, patreon.com/gamblinggauchos. If he's throwing 5 innings in relief, and of course you're not hardly ever going to get through 5 innings on that few pitches, but if he has the stamina to do it, could he start? Like, as thin as you are at starting pitcher, could he throw the first 5 on Friday or Saturday instead of throwing 5 in relief, especially if you've now moved Girton back to the bullpen and you think Kyle Robinson is going to be kind of some long relief or middle relief out of the bullpen? I don't know. I mean, I think it's worth tinkering with based on just your total lack of skins on the wall with starting pitchers right now. Like, I don't know if Blessy is going to get back to a starting role or if, they're concerned about his usage, so he'll always be a bullpen guy. But I don't know. Is that the craziest thing to think that maybe Ryan Free should get a shot at starting?
In college baseball, no. I mean, you have a pretty defined role in the major leagues, especially how they're so worried about, stretching you out and getting you ready. But if you do go into a game and if it's Friday and you want to start Free and you have Girton obviously available. Now, I wouldn't throw Free out there on a Sunday because if he only does go, 2 innings or whatever else, then you're really kind of stuck. But you have the full complement behind him, why not? And then Molina goes back to Saturday. It is what it is. But if it's Free and Girton, I think I would like that pretty well, especially if Free, you're just like, hey, man, 3 innings. Let's do it.
I think it might be worth a shot. I mean, right now he's basically in the role that Trendon Parrish was in for a long time, which was the middle relief on Saturday. And, you either out of necessity due to injury or just messing with the rotation, you move Parrish to your Sunday starter initially. He started Saturday this weekend. But, he was a guy that would throw a few innings out of the bullpen, and I think as a starter is kind of just expected to go 4, maybe 5. I guess I just don't see why Ryan Free couldn't potentially do that. And maybe he's another one of those guys that is nails out of the bullpen and just not comfortable starting for whatever reason. But at this point, again, with how thin you are at starting pitching, I would look at that option and say maybe that's worth a shot, especially if he can go 5 or 6 innings. I mean, you just don't have anybody like that right now, at least not consistently, that's in the starting rotation.
And again, you watch that Friday game, and as excited as you are, you're really worried about the bullpen because you used Girton, Beckel, a bunch of names, and you're kind of like, oh man, you had to use Molina and Girton. But you kind of saved yourself Saturday with Ryan Free pitching so much. I thought you were going to be better today pitching wise, but Oklahoma also, hey, good on Oklahoma for being a quality Big 12 team that isn't going to get swept.
So I missed the second half of today's game. Did Devine or Sanders come into the game at all?
Devine did not. Sanders, I believe, pitched today.
So I guess we didn't see Devine all weekend.
No, I don't think he will. I don't think he'll pitch in the Big 12 games again. I think he's,
Really?
I think he has hurt his standing, especially. Was it the Stanford? Was it in Stanford that he gave up a bunch of runs, or was it the end of the North Dakota game? I think it was North Dakota.
Yeah. Well, Sunday, I thought where you had your opportunity because their starter I thought was solid, but you were hitting him okay at times. You had a lot of runners stranded, a lot of runners in scoring position stranded. There was a moment where I thought you could bounce him from the game and get into their bullpen, which the often referenced Keith Patrick said that any OU relief pitcher coming into Sunday who had pitched more than 10 innings this season had already been used. And so that's kind of what I was saying. I was like, if you can get to their bullpen early with how Ryan Free saved your bullpen, I love that matchup. Like if you can do that, you're in good shape. And in the fifth inning, it was 3-1. He had thrown, I think, 70-something pitches. Again, you'd been hitting him just fine at this point, just stranding a lot of guys. And the top of the order was due up. And I was like, okay, if we can get some base runners, some long at-bats, we can bounce him and make their bullpen throw the second half of this game. And instead it was, I think, 3 up, 3 down. Or that may have been the inning that was ended with Bazell trying to go 2 to stretch that. Either way, he got through the inning. It was still 3-1. And I thought that was kind of your opportunity to claw back into that game and make it a game between the two bullpens, at which point you could have called on a guy like Beckel later in the game and hopefully scored some runs against their bullpen. And after that point, of course, it just spiraled out of control. You alluded to it. Bridges kind of struggled. And I think this was just his 4th appearance back from injury, but I don't think you got out of that inning until it was 7-1-ish, maybe 6-1.
Yeah, 7.
At that point, it's really tough to come back from. So I thought that was your shot there in the 5th inning, and unfortunately just weren't quite able to execute.
I'll tell you what, though. Bridges gave up 3. Josh Sanders gave up 3. Rogers gave up 4, but I honestly thought he pitched pretty well until he didn't.
You know what? I remember now. The 5th inning. Hang on.
Easy. You good?
Yeah. No, I'm about to contradict myself. The 5th inning, you had Hester due up, so it was the top of the order. So I don't think that was the inning.
That was the inning that that Bridges pitched, because you went a complete 4 with.
Yeah. So it was before that that you had a lead off. God dang it.
You get so emotional about this, Kyle. I respect it.
Flu game part 2. You had a leadoff double, and I think didn't do anything with it. And I think that was the one. It was a single from Bazell that he tried to stretch. Maybe I'm mixing that up, but either way, I thought the 5th inning was your shot to get their starter out of the game, make it a battle of the bullpens, and he didn't do it. But
he was 7 1/3.
Right.
And that's just not something that guy does often.
Yeah.
Ever.
But he was up there in pitch count. Like the first 2 innings, I think it took him 40 pitches. And again, you just didn't capitalize on that. Like you didn't play enough runs with your base runners. He had a couple really quick innings where, in my opinion, you were too aggressive, too early in the count. But yeah, I thought Jacob Rogers just totally hit or miss. Like he's fanning dudes left and right.
Yeah.
Only 2 pitches left the infield for a large stretch of that game, but one was a solo shot and one was a 2-run homer. So it's like, man, when this is good, it's really good. And when it's bad, like it's costing us runs. So he's young and the stuff is obviously there. I don't know how much he'll be able to, I guess, be relied on and develop this season, but a guy you're excited about going forward, even if maybe he doesn't become a staple in the rotation this season.
Yeah, and you wonder how many opportunities he's going to get. But if you have, like, let's say you start Rogers Friday, and you kind of say, all right, let's do it this way. Then you have Girton to go in on him. But I don't know. Is it Free? Is Parrish now just your best starter currently? This is the best starts this weekend, I guess. You have to have more out of Mason Molina. I just looking at the starting pitch, you're kind of surprised you won 2 this weekend. Offensively, you were just so good though in the first 2 games. And again, Gavin Cash, Harrelson, Hester, Ty Coleman, I thought had a good weekend. I was surprised he scored from third today in with a shot from left field. I guess if the catcher hadn't blocked the plate, he wouldn't have. But yeah, and then you have Dax today coming in and throwing out of the bullpen. His second appearance of the week, and he's had a couple of good ones.
Yeah, his stuff looked good. Was he in right before Bridges, or he came in after Bridges, right?
After.
Yeah, kind of helped clean up that mess. He did have a wild pitch, and I guess that brings me to your defensive woes continue. Like I think when Bridges was in there was a sack bunt with runners on first and second, and like first off, Hudson White didn't field it cleanly. Even if he had, there's nobody covering third and there's nobody covering first, and so it's like even if we could have had a play, we couldn't have had a play. If that makes sense. And, a lot of free bases, still struggling to hold guys at times. Although on Friday, Maxey, I thought brilliant performance defensively catching. He picked off that guy at third end an inning. That was huge because, that obviously was a pretty imminent run threat. And who knows how the momentum of that inning shifts if OU scores there. And I don't remember. I think it was Girton, might have been Molina, picked a guy off on Friday night as well. Or was that Saturday? It's kind of running together. But you did a little bit better, but there were still some stolen bases today. And, that sack bunt that wound up loading the bases when I felt like it probably didn't have to, seemed like a somewhat routine sack bunt to me. And then it kind of snowballed from there. And that's where the game got out of hand. So, that spot, the catcher rotation, I think you've got 3 guys that can play catcher. I wonder what Tadlock and the staff are going to settle on there because certainly multiple different directions they could go with that.
Yeah, that was Saturday. You had to pick off a couple of them. Just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Josh Young, 6. I don't know if it was 4. I think this was 6-4-3 double play to end the game. 9-1 win.
Nice.
Texas Rangers, 2-1 series victory over the Astros, extending their AL West lead. Future AL West champions, Texas Rangers. This is our Super Bowl.
The last thing from Sunday that I think is worth noting, you've already mentioned it, Bo Bellesi is apparently healthy enough to pitch. He started off pretty good. I think 2 Ks. Then a walk, and then a ding-dong. So, very small sample size. But
right.
You and I were starting to wonder, okay, it's been a long time. Are they just going to shut him down? And I don't know to what extent he'll be able to come back and how many innings or pitches he'll be able to throw every weekend. But it's at least trending in the right direction. And, man, I hope we get something just at all resembling what we saw out of him that very first appearance versus Gonzaga, 6 shutout innings. Would love to see something like that out of him. And honestly, just glad to see him healthy enough that he didn't have to miss the entire season and, that he can hopefully factor in down the stretch here. But that was a positive sight, even though it didn't ultimately end well on Sunday.
And that was a really low leverage situation. You just, hey, go out there and get some hacks in, man.
Yeah, it's a good spot for him, honestly.
Absolutely. All right. We kind of just did the broad thoughts while we were talking about baseball this weekend. I guess moving forward, if you could, all right, you get a homestand, 2 against Grand Canyon, 3 against Baylor. What are you doing? What are you doing in these 2 Grand Canyon games pitching wise? And then who would you start Friday? Just kind of looking forward to setting the rotation Moving forward, is it Zane Petty, I guess, one of these two games? Because these are must-wins against Grand Canyon. They're not very good.
Explain why they're must wins against Grand Canyon.
Because they're not very good. And they'll hurt your RPI if you don't win them.
What is the consequence of hurting your RPI at this juncture?
Well, being a 3 seed or being one of those weird good teams that isn't in the tournament because you have a bad RPI and you're not going to be a 4 seed because you're Texas Tech and some automatic bid gets there.
I guess I view it very differently. I was going to say let Tabor Fast and Zane Petty start and leave them out there. Like allow them to throw some pitches even if it's not going super well.
Well, you can must win with the offense.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, you're not going to host at this point, barring, like, some huge surge where you win the Big 12 or something. So if you're not going to host,
sure.
The main thing is, like, okay, let's play these games in preparation for being a 2 or a 3. And, like, the main thing I think you need right now is pitching depth, specifically starting pitchers. And so I would let some of these guys either take their lumps or earn their stripes. Say, like, yeah, we would like to beat Grand Canyon, but more than anything, we need to find out who can pitch, who can start. So I think those two guys would make sense in the midweek. I don't know. I feel like if they go 2 1/3 starting and, they throw 45 pitches, it's like, okay, they're not really building stamina, building experience. So, like, I would say start those guys and let them go 4 innings. I mean, with some caveats, of course, like if they've given up 12 runs, like, okay, yeah, go to the bullpen. But I don't know. I'd like to see them work through, taking their lumps and giving up 3 or 4 runs in a start and say, like, okay, can you get past that and go back out there in the 5th and get some outs now? I just don't know if it's doing anybody any good to, like, in these midweek games, pitch everybody 1 or 2 innings at a time and, like, nobody gets any meaningful experience or learning how to pitch after a bad half inning or a bad AB or something like that. So I think Tabor Fast and Zane Petty make sense in the midweek, and then you keep all your options open on the weekend as far as, however you want to use Free. If you want to try him starting, if Blessie's going to be an opener, I don't know. I don't think I want to see Kyle Robinson start in the midweek. I think I want to see him be more of a staple in the weekend rotation. So I don't know. I think those are the 2 names I would like to see start. What do you think?
I agree. I like those 2. And just because it's must wins doesn't mean I'm trying to pitch your weekend stuff in the middle, because those Baylor games are even more important. And you have to sweep somebody. I think if you want to really be in the top 2 of the Big 12 at the end, which is what you want to be, Baylor's a good opportunity to sweep away from Waco. Kansas is a good opportunity to sweep away from Lawrence. You're probably not going to sweep in Manhattan. I thought maybe this Oklahoma series was the best chance to sweep, probably, away from Lubbock. But you're running out of opportunities. But again, is it Molina? Is your Friday guy? And you're just going to throw all your big name starters in one game, and it's going to be Girton and whoever else you need to win on Friday, and then you just set it up to try to throw everybody else on Saturday and just kind of say whatever happens on Sunday?
Go with me here on the Big 12 race.
Yeah. Go.
Actually, before we do, I want to give a shout out to our friends at Regino Barbecue. The reason I was getting so choked up earlier wasn't because I'm sick. I am sick that I wasn't in Lubbock to enjoy Regino Barbecue this weekend. It was choking me up that I couldn't get some of that brisket or ribs. They're out in Olton, or you can get their mobile food truck going all across West Texas. ReginoBBQ.com. You can order ahead to make sure your food is ready and there when you arrive. Give them a follow on social at ReginoBBQ. And hey, maybe you can go out there if you're there for the Baylor series next weekend. They're open Thursday through Saturday, so you could go get maybe some dinner or lunch and then get back to Lubbock for the game Friday evening, or lunch on Saturday before the game that afternoon. So shout out to Regino Barbecue. All right, go with me here. you lose 3 games in Austin,
Uh-huh.
and you immediately fall 3 games behind Texas in the Big 12 race. So if you obviously want to have any chance at catching them in the standings, you have to make up those 3 games somewhere else. Now, you beat Oklahoma State 2 out of 3. Texas only took 1 out of 3, so that's 1. You beat TCU 2 out of 3. Texas and TCU haven't played yet. Let's say TCU gets 2 out of 3 there. That's another 1. Texas dropped 1 to Baylor this weekend. They were losing, and then they won by 1 run. They almost lost the series to Baylor. But if you can sweep Baylor in Lubbock, which you're the better team, home field advantage, that's your second one that's, concrete. Then you've got a third one pending if TCU can take 2 out of 3 versus Texas. So it's not impossible. This is like this is the upside of playing the tough half of your schedule early when you're still trying to sort some stuff out and dealing with injuries. But that's how I'm viewing the Baylor series is if you sweep, you gain ground on Texas, no matter what they do that same weekend. Now, I don't know who they play next weekend, but you've also set the bar. Now they need 2 out of 3 versus OU to keep pace with you. I know they dropped 1 to Kansas State, so that gives you an opportunity to, again, a sweep in Manhattan, like you said, would be tough. But you theoretically have some meat on the bone there that you could take advantage of. And West Virginia is a team that neither Texas nor Tech has played. I don't know if Texas goes to Morgantown or if they get that one in Austin.
It's in Austin.
West Virginia, it's in Austin.
Uh-huh.
West Virginia looks pretty tough. They're going to be number 3 in the Big 12 power rankings tomorrow. That's why I'm wearing the lid. They're probably the biggest mover this week. So anyway, I don't think the Big 12 title race is over with. I'm glad you handled your business against Oklahoma State and TCU. And you're absolutely right. You need to sweep some teams that other squads are going 2-1 against to make up for some of that. And you're hoping at some point Texas loses the series and then you can maybe gain some serious ground one weekend. But
they have to go to TCU and then to Lawrence.
And honestly, you might be rooting for a TCU sweep that weekend because TCU lost their series to OU. And again, you already beat them 2 out of 3. So that's like 2 games on common opponents where you're ahead of them. You had the same series result against Oklahoma State. You both went 2-1 against Oklahoma State. So I don't know. It'll depend on – now they swept Kansas, which is another one that if you're going to keep pace with TCU, you need to sweep Kansas at the end of the year.
Right.
So, I mean, I think first and foremost, you're looking at what you're doing. You need to be winning a lot of games at home, sweeping somebody, holding serve on the road, and not really looking around at what everybody else is doing. But I don't know. I think it's maybe not quite done yet.
Texas Tech now 25-11, 6-6 in Big 12 play. 60th in the RPI as of today. Teams you've played or will play ahead of you: Iowa at 57, Texas A&M at 40. You just played 1 against them. TCU up to 36. Oklahoma State down to 16. West Virginia at 32. Let's see. Stanford at 18. Texas 21. Other teams right around here, I looked at this earlier. I'm going to lose. ACU has dropped. If you played them when you were supposed to play them, they would have been 62, but now they're 78 and probably dropping more. Grand Canyon in the 130s, I think, RPI-wise, 115. But they're 19-15 and have raised 12 spots to come in the midweek against you.
Yeah, I'm really not worried about RPI at this point. Like you don't have enough on the menu to move the needle RPI wise in terms of like hosting and stuff. So
right, but you don't want to finish at 55 either.
Sure, but I'm just like focused on winning Big 12 games.
Yeah, it's you control your own destiny certainly to be in the tournament. If you're going to be in the tournament, I would prefer to be in a situation if you're not hosting to be one of the first calls to host if somebody doesn't win a super, or, something goes crazy and you're back in the mix for a super like you were in 14.
Yeah, for sure.
So it matters, but it doesn't matter. And especially in a regional, a 2 or 3 seed, it really doesn't matter because, it matters because you'll be the road team on day one. But after that, if you win, you play the winner. And then it's just the 3 seed, and the rest of the games are coin flips for home and road.
Yeah.
So 2-3 is really only important when you get there and you have to pitch first or bat first.
I think you get a little bit better of a draw as the 2 seed. Like when you were the 3 in Statesboro, Georgia, they didn't care about geography, but if you were a 2, they might send you to somewhere in the state of Texas or, kind of nearby. So yeah, I think that's maybe another factor, but
Sure.
That's all. It's all dependent on who exactly is hosting.
All right. Do you have
But I think you're ranked 21st coming into this weekend. I would bet you'll be around there again. So if you're ranked in the top 20 at the end of the season and you're Big 12 champs or co-champs, you're who cares if your RPI is 48? You have a pretty credible case to host at that point. Like, are they going to put the 8th place SEC team as a host over you?
If you win the Big 12, you'll host, I think, even with the 20, because you'll be up in the low 30s if you win the Big 12 or high 20s.
I think that's your path. But if you're second or third place in the Big 12 and your RPI is 30-something, 40-something, you're not going to host anyway. So
no, but even though it doesn't matter, I would still prefer to be a 2, just in case. It just looks better too.
Well, and you are right. Like, it doesn't always go chalk in the regional, and if you're a 2, you're more likely to host the Super than if you're a 3.
So, are you worried about Grant McCasland?
Am I worried about a guy who's won every place he's ever been? No.
I would like to see somebody on the staff announce tomorrow. If it's May and we don't have a full staff, I'm my worry levels are getting a little aggressive.
Oh, I think you will. Oh, okay. Before we move on from baseball, your worried-o-meter 1 to 10. 1 being Omaha, 10 being we're a bottom third of the Big 12 team.
I think you won the series. I think I'll hold it 4. I think this weekend is a big one, but I think I said if you swept, I'd lower it. If you won the series, I'd be about where I was, and I think 4 is good. Maybe 4.5, a little bit after this weekend in the pitching.
I think I'm staying at 4 as well.
There's just you're too good offensively to not have a chance in every Big 12 series remaining. And Kansas State's won 9 out of 15. They're 9-6. So that's pretty good. You still have to play them, and you have to play them in Manhattan. I think West Virginia, you have to go to Morgantown. That's going to be a tough one. But you get 6 games against Baylor and Kansas in Lubbock, and you potentially could win 6 of those. If you go 5 out of 6, I think you're in a really good spot.
Although Kansas State, I think, let's see, they dropped their series at home to West Virginia, and then they dropped their series in Austin against Texas, have not played Oklahoma State, TCU, or Tech yet. So they're the kind of the opposite of you. Like, they've benefited from playing Kansas, Baylor, OU.
Right.
Some not so great teams.
Just trying to find their schedule. It's really hard to find people on the RPI list. Let me go back the other way.
Did you see as you're looking for that, did you see the drama with the Iowa State softball team at the West Virginia versus Oklahoma State baseball game?
Yeah, it's so silly.
Like the dumbest beef of all time.
Yeah, they're mad that. Look, that's a team building thing. If they want to go watch the game, they probably were being obnoxious and loud, but it's a baseball game.
Yeah. Oklahoma State, man. Hey, I don't like to do this, but 2 weeks ago, we put out the Big 12 power rankings, and they had won a home series against Texas 2-1. Now, this is my favorite thing to explain every single week when the power rankings come out. Somebody notices that a team is higher than a team they lost a series to. They go, well, how do you have Kansas State ahead of like they lost it? Okay, it's not a 3-game sample size. You cannot do that in baseball because like Tech has lost to Texas, who's lost to Oklahoma State, who lost to Tech. So like you have to sort it some kind of way.
It's a circle.
So anyway, I had Oklahoma State not number 1. And of course the response, well, we beat Texas. Like, why are we not ahead of Texas? Well, because then you'd be behind Tech because you lost to Tech. And again, that just doesn't make sense. So the fans were chirping a little bit. Since then, they are 2-4 in Big 12 play. And their fans are on Twitter talking about if they should fire their coach or not.
Yes.
So I feel a little bit vindicated.
You should fire Josh Holiday.
It's almost as if the list was a genuine attempt at sorting the best teams in the conference and not a troll job.
I can't believe people call you a troll, Kyle. And I know you do hate to do that. You hate to call them out like that. I know.
And I had Tech
You
second.
don't want to do it.
This most recent one, I had Tech second. 2 teams that they've beaten in weekend series, Oklahoma State and TCU right behind them, tied for 3rd.
Ooh, TCU this weekend. They lost twice to UNC Wilmington.
They did. UNC Wilmington, apparently not that bad, though.
Yeah, but you shouldn't lose a home series to a non-conference team.
Sure. Like, did I know that school existed before this weekend? No. But after a quick DuckDuckGo search, they did beat ECU, which they're legit. And apparently they've won like 20-plus games already. Their RPI isn't horrible. So I think they're like not North Dakota State is all I'm saying.
They're 21-13. RPI 76. Strength of schedule 79. They're 2-4 against top 25 RPI teams. 5-1 against the lowest rung, quad 5, which I guess is not a quad in baseball because there's 5 of them. What do you call a 5? Is it just a quint?
Yeah.
That's
a quintile. So it'd be a quint 1 or quint 2 win.
Chase wants to know what happened with the Iowa State softball team. You want to do a 2-minute rundown there?
Yeah, so back in March, West Virginia Iowa State Barstool account. I think it was Iowa State Barstool. Tweeted like when their basketball team lost in the tournament, they were like, well, we don't have a baseball team, so like the sports season is over. And their softball team was like, hey, like, we're still playing. And so West Virginia Barstool was like, we don't have a softball team in Morgantown, so we'll adopt Iowa State as our softball team. So Iowa State softball was in Stillwater for their series this weekend. And when their game was over, they went to the baseball game, which was Oklahoma State versus West Virginia. And apparently the Iowa State softball ladies were cheering really loudly for West Virginia, who won the first 2 games of that series. So Oklahoma State fans are probably a little bit on edge and annoyed at that. There was some Twitter exchanges about Iowa State softball players saying how rude the fans were to them. Who knows? I mean, to me, it sounded kind of like the battery throwing stuff. I was like, okay, like I don't know if that actually happened. But also, like you alluded to, if you go to an opponent's stadium and like yell really loudly for their opponent, like I don't think everybody's just going to come up and like love you for that.
Yeah, and softball teams historically loud, joyous.
Right.
They have all the chants. I'm sure they were doing chants and stuff.
Yeah. So that's all that
softball.
happened. It's like mostly Twitter beef.
Yeah.
Between softball and baseball.
Just funny. They showed up in like, obviously they're all wearing Iowa State gear, like maybe even in their uniforms from the game. They just walked over.
Yeah.
So good.
Anyway, so the most recent Big 12 power rankings, I still had Tech number 2 ahead of Oklahoma State and TCU. And a bunch of Tech fans were like, why are we so high? We suck. The sky's falling. Don't you know that? Okay, well, we took 2 out of 3 on the road, and they both lost 2 out of 3 at home. So, again, vindication. And, again, it's almost like it's not a troll job, and it's actually an honest assessment of how things are going in the Big 12.
So you feel vindicated?
So here we go. West Virginia is going to surge ahead of both TCU and Oklahoma State because they won 2 out of 3 on the road against a team that was slotted ahead of them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to ruffle some TCU feathers. And now Oklahoma State doesn't have much to gripe about. They just lost to this team. But anyway, I'm sure I'll be accused of trolling and all that, and then West Virginia will sweep whoever they're playing next weekend and totally validate it.
Yeah, you're right. You swear you're right. You knew it all along.
Yes, I'm that vindicated.
Let's see.
Also,
Okay.
hey, while we're on this topic, since I've already wasted enough time on this, OU fans, totally fine with going 6-7 with Brent Venables. Have 0 second thoughts about trying to hire Josh Heupel, who just won an Orange Bowl and whose team was ranked number 1 in the country last season. And if you suggest otherwise, you're just a troll. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
And they're still really happy Lincoln Riley left. Not bitter at all about that. They're in a much better spot now.
Yeah, they do not care that Lincoln Riley was ruining the program, winning 5 straight Big 12 championships and then losing one.
Yes, horrible. They're in a much better position now.
Way better.
You know, Rob, if we wanted to troll with that list of football coaches, we could have. We removed multiple that were trolly.
Oh, yeah. I tried to get you to post several more that were trolly. And you being the honest, integrity-driven man you are, would refuse to do it. What was I going to say when I said...
Are we done talking about Coach Gass?
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to do. Another player in the portal.
Who?
Jalen Tyson.
He's in the portal?
Well, it reportedly will enter the portal. It's not in the portal yet, I believe is the wording there. Watching this team, okay, just unbiased observer, watching this team this year, in a lot of ways, they were soft. And we talked all year long about how there was no leader. And when Pop Isaacs was on the floor, it certainly felt like Pop Isaacs was the leader as a true freshman. Grant McCaslin watched the same tape. And he's a biased observer in charge of a new program. If a guy is leaving at this point, post-coaching change, I feel certain that the coach and the player had some conversations, and that player wants to play somewhere else. I feel very confident in saying that. If he enters the portal. It was reported he might.
Yeah, I think I guess I have multiple thoughts on it. My first one is that I guess I'm pretty neutral toward this. I've seen a lot of hot takes all over Twitter and message boards. You know, it's funny to me. Until it was rumored that he might enter the portal, everybody wanted him to stay, right?
Yes.
Then he enters the portal, and all of a sudden he can't play basketball, and we're better off without him. Same thing with TJ Shannon, Kevin McCullough. Now, I'm not saying there's no scenario where, it's addition by subtraction. Do I think that losing a 6'6" guard who can rebound and showed flashes of really good scoring ability, do I think that's a good thing? No, probably not. But I'm just also not hot takey about it. Like you said, if the head coach who you just hired on a 6-year contract, doesn't see this player as part of his vision, then did you hire him to do his job, or did you hire him to just pander to the fan base?
And the current roster.
In
the current roster.
I think Jalen Tyson's a good basketball player.
Yes.
I also think you hired Grant McCaslin for a reason, and you can't be hamstringing him by making demands about who he needs to hire as an assistant coach or that he needs to appease certain players. And I have no idea what the motives are. If it's NIL-driven, playing time, system, just chemistry, coach, player, no clue. But the tail is wagging the dog if we're saying the coach has to keep this player because he averaged 10-6. Now, I thought the 10-6 was impressive a lot of times. Again, he's a freshman in the toughest conference. Thought he could have grown into a 15-8 kind of guy. But again, Grant McCaslin has skins on the wall. He has more skins on the wall than a freshman who went 10-6. By the way, 10.6 rebounds, not record of 10-6. Grant McCaslin knows how to win conference championships. He knows how to win postseason games. He's 18-5 in his career in the postseason whether that's NIT, CBI, NCAA tournament, or the Division II NCAA tournament. I trust that he knows what he's doing. And surely you're not hiring a guy for 6 years if you don't think he knows what he's doing. And if you have reservations about if he knows what he's doing or not, you don't give him a 6-year contract. So I would love to see Jalen Tyson stay in Lubbock. I think he's a really good basketball player. Also, if he leaves, I'm going to trust the process and try to think that this is probably better for the bigger picture as far as how Coach Gass wants to do things.
Yeah, you had two visits over the weekend. One was the Freshman Mountain West Conference Freshman of the Year.
Yeah.
Whatever, I just said that way backwards, but kind of yoded it. And then you have another one coming in tomorrow. Good player. I think Jalen Tyson, if he's a Red Raider next year, I'm excited. If it's a different 13 guys out there, I'll be excited. And we talked about it, I think, on the football midweek episode last week with recruiting. Like, at a certain point, it's just like, okay, cool. We'll see when you get here. And in basketball anymore, once the season's over, hey, we'll see who lines up in November, right? And be excited for that roster because we're Texas Tech fans and we're going to root for Texas Tech players.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel a little bit on an island being so tame with my reaction to this. Like the hot takes on Twitter and message boards tonight is either the sky's falling, Coach Gass has lost all control, or Jalen Tyson's a bum and like we're way better off without him. And I don't really sympathize with either one of those.
No.
He's a good player. I want him to come back, and I also trust Coach Gass. So and maybe I'm just numb to it in the portal era. And some fans, I think, might never figure this out. Every single player on every roster in America is on a 1-year unrestricted free agent deal.
In college basketball, yes.
And everybody's like, oh, but he already used his transfer. But there's waivers. There's every single player is on a 1-year unrestricted free agent deal. Get that through your head. And Rob, you can pull the tape from November, December, whenever. I said that because I was like, well, just give these guys time. As soon as Lamar Washington, Elijah Fisher, Pop Isaacs, Jalen Tyson come back next year, I was like, no. That is not how this works. You do not have 5 stellar freshmen who come back as 5 stellar sophomores. You might get 2 of them back.
Yeah.
That is just how the world is. And as soon as people get that through their heads, they'll quit being so shocked every time a kid enters the transfer portal. Every single year, you're going to lose probably half your roster. That is just how it is. It's not symptomatic of the coach losing the locker room. It's only symptomatic of the way the world is. Every single roster is going through the same thing.
And I don't know this, but I'm just going to make a leap here. I maybe shouldn't, but I'm going to do it. I think how NIL run was – why can I not speak? I think how NIL was run last year at Texas Tech in the basketball world will not be how it runs this year. So I think there are some options there as well with who knows player. And I'm not specifically referencing Jalen Tyson. I don't think he's thinking about the portal just because he's not going to get the same NIL contract. But I think in the broad scope of things, especially at Texas Tech, you're going to see a new way of doing things, probably more like the football program. I would hope you can just get everyone a certain contract and then move forward like that, in my opinion.
I'll say this, and I hope it's not misperceived or ill-received. If Jalen Tyson enters the portal and leaves, he will be playing for his 4th head coach in his collegiate basketball career. Chris Beard, Mark Adams, kind of Grant McCaslin. Like he would be choosing basically to not play for Grant McCaslin.
Right.
And I guess go to his 3rd coach. So however you want to, I guess, perceive that, whether it's his 3rd coach or his 4th coach, I'm not saying that's the case, but like you also look around at a guy like Fardaws, which I think the fan base sentiment is totally different. People are pretty happy to see him go. It's like same deal. He's going to his 4th school or 3rd? No, 4th. He was at somewhere, then he went to Utah Valley, and then Tech, and now he's at Cal. right?
I don't remember if he was anywhere before Utah Valley, but I think so. Now, he's going back to his Utah Valley coach.
True.
But still, yeah, I mean, you're moving around.
It's kind of like we have a comment in the chat, JT Daniels.
Yeah.
There were West Virginia fans swearing up and down that he was going to turn them into a 9-win team. And you and I were kind of like, well, he's on his third ball club. And usually elite players don't go to 3 different schools during their collegiate career.
No. Oh, he's a 5-star recruit. Okay.
And there's a difference between football and basketball. Like, the portal isn't quite as fluid in other sports. But like, at some point you look around and once a guy's on coach or team number 3 or 4, it's like, okay, is this an issue with the program? Is it an issue with the coach? Is it an issue with the player? I don't know. Again, hope that's not misinterpreted. I want him to come back. I think he's a really good basketball player.
Certainly. But any player in college basketball, I guess I'm just, especially in college basketball, I'm pro team. Like, I don't know. I just am not gonna. I'm not gonna cape up for any current player or former player or future player. They either are here, they aren't. When you line up,
yeah. And again, I love all our guys. I want them to play their entire collegiate career here if that's what's best for them. But I guess I just don't know how long it's going to take for people to understand that in college basketball, every single kid is on a 1-year unrestricted free agent contract. And there's no, when these 7 freshmen come back next year. No, that is just not how it goes.
No. If that's not going to work. I was trying to do an ad segue, but I couldn't quite get there in my mind. We'll try again in a second. You ready for the Discord mailbag?
Yes.
I want to start with this one from the YouTube chat and then get into the Discord mailbag. How do you get into the Discord mailbag, Kyle?
Patreon.com/GamblingGauchos.
And this,
I'm going to repost, Rob, on Twitter our interview with Sonny Cumbie. I think that's one that we unlocked.
Yes.
That was only available to Patreon subscribers for a while, but we've got several interviews in that same vein with Cody Campbell, Dusty Womble, Matt Mooney. That was one of my favorites. And we're going to start adding to that library of interviews. You also get access to the #1 Texas Tech fan Discord server. So a lot of good things going on with your Patreon membership. It's only $5 a month. Patreon.com/GamblingGauchos. And it allows you to participate in the Diversified Lenders mailbag.
Turn your accounts receivable into cash. Do you have any thoughts on the stadium construction update from Don Williams? Showing there will be a new locker room in the northeast corner for the visitors. And then they'll actually come out opposite there, the northeast corner.
I didn't see the construction update, but I saw that I guess they're going to have some double wides for the...
Yes, in the east parking lot.
And I thought this was so funny. Some TCU fan was chirping at Don about, how bad that was, or like how embarrassing that was for Tech to have that set up. And Don quote tweeted him and was like, "Yeah, I don't think Jim Swink seemed to mind when the facilities were, about at that same level." I'm like, Don, the guy you're quote tweeting doesn't know who Jim Swink is. Like, that dude played ball in like the 50s or 60s, It's like he doesn't remember anybody before like LT at the latest. And it's like, it's not a permanent deal. Like, what do you want us to do? The stadium's under construction, Yeah,
it's going to be one season. Right. Like, not even it's not permanent. It's just one season. So you have 6 games where guys have to dress in a double wide. And they're going to be nice, I bet.
How about Oregon coming here from like some of the nicest facilities in the country, like probably top 5.
Yeah.
And going, we're putting on our, glittery glow-in-the-dark uniforms in this thing. That's going to be an eye-opener for them.
Probably with a couple of box fans and like...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. It's going to be, September 9th or 10th?
Yeah.
I hope it's 95 in Lubbock that day.
Oh, yeah.
And I say that as somebody who's sitting on the east side, so I can take the heat.
Well, hopefully it's a night game. Also coming out this weekend is the no, you want 3 o'clock?
2:30.
Hell yeah. I just want to see the lights as soon as possible. So that's the home opener. The new LED. They're going to retrofit the current lighting structures into LED. Oh my God, LED. Like having a stroke over here. It's supposedly, even just when the lights are on normal, supposed to be pointed in a way where players can even see the ball better. So there's some good stuff there, I guess. This is worried that adding another tunnel will further reduce capacity. There's already a tunnel down there, right? Or at least a ramp
On the south side?
on the northeast side. Isn't there already a space there?
I don't think so. But to the commenter's question, last we heard from somebody who would definitely know, you're losing 600 seats total with the south end zone redo. There's still going to be some seating in the south end zone. I think the comment makes it sound like there will be none, but of course there won't be this season while it's under construction. But when it's done, you'll have the load seating kind of like you have in the north end zone. And we were told total capacity would go down 600. Was that right? 600?
I think maybe 7, but less than 1,000.
Yeah.
And if you add a tunnel and you lose some space there, like what, you're still going to have 55,000, like on the low end. You're at 65 now capacity. You were at 56 for a long time. You're definitely not going down to 55. You might have 62.
I was gonna say, I think when you have like a over capacity kind of sellout, it's like 61 or 62. So I think in that kind of atmosphere for a game like Oregon or Texas or something like that, I think you'd still get pretty much 60, if not 60, like right under it. And if 59,500 people are loud as heck, it'll still be a good atmosphere.
Yeah, 6454 is technically the capacity.
60,454.
I would put it back at 56 and be good. I thought that was a really good look. But my brain is like broken right now. I can't see the inside of Jones Stadium on the north end. I guess there aren't tunnels in all four corners. There's just the other two. I swore there was one down there. I'm going crazy, man. My brain is broken tonight or something.
Tonight,
yeah. More than normal.
Just kidding.
This is quality podcasting here. All right. Is Gas on the hot seat?
God damn. According to some Twitter accounts, yeah. But no.
Oh, my God. Oh, you're also getting new turf. So new lights, new turf. And the turf is the same turf that the Vegas Raiders and the Cowboys and a bunch of NFL teams are getting.
I'm curious about that because if you'll recall, I think after the 2015 season, the turf had just completed a decade of use. It was 10 years old. And they wanted to and probably needed to replace it. And Cliff said, no, the turf plays so fast, I want to keep it. And so you had that turf through the 2016 season. So you got 11 years out of it. I think that timeline, I'm close if I'm not exactly right. And so this turf will have only been 2017 through 22. So 6 years, 6 seasons of playing on it. I thought that was interesting. I just thought that turf had about a decade lifespan. And one, it sounds like you prolonged it. And this one sounds like you kind of expedited the lifespan of it. So, and I guess it's a new kind of turf that probably wasn't available when you installed the current one. So I guess that's a good thing. And, hopefully it plays nice and looks nice. I think it looks nice now, but
yeah,
if it enhances the playing surface and can hopefully like reduce injuries and stuff, that's obviously a good thing.
Do you have let's see, do you have a thought on the design? I guess you're gonna have Cody Campbell Field. You probably have a regular double T in the middle, black end zones, red text. What do you want to do? Same as last? Or do you think you'll have a new design?
I mean, if there was ever a time
Right?
to switch, like you're about to install a new double T scoreboard, you're about to put a new logo at the midfield turf when you redo the whole turf. You're in your second season with a new head coach when allegedly you were saddled with your old uniforms because there wasn't enough time to change them. Like, so this would be the season where you change uniforms.
Yeah.
Now's it, like the stars are aligning. If you want to go a different route with your branding and logo and go back to the old school double T, this would be the time. I don't think they're going to do it. I'm a proponent of it, as you know. But I guess we'll just stick with the old school double T.
The new school?
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. What's new is old.
Yeah. Old school is in like 1999 or whenever they
2000.
unveiled that. It's outdated. So it's not old school, but
Yeah.
like look around now. Every other team in the conference has a flat, non-beveled logo.
Yeah.
And here you are with something straight out of the year 2000.
How big of a crowd do you expect Saturday at Lowry Field? Are you coming to town?
Probably not. I think we're expecting some baby goats in Jacksboro.
Nice.
I think I'll be there. I would love to though. I'd love to watch a sweep of the Bears. I thought they were asking about the crowd size at Rahino Barbecue or Cardinal Sports Center, but
They could have been.
well, I mean, how's the weather been lately? I know there was the typical spring dust storms a couple weeks ago, but is it shaping up?
Yeah, it was a little windy Friday night, but I thought yesterday was really nice. If it's like it was yesterday, next Saturday it should be a packed crowd.
Yeah.
Was it 8,000 seats at Lowry?
Oh, okay. I thought we were
Yeah.
talking baseball.
No.
Lowry.
I guess it just says how big of a crowd do you expect Saturday. I have no idea what he means.
Lowry's probably about 6,000.
I think it's 8. Of course, I made Jones Stadium bigger than it was like 5 minutes ago, so I don't know.
Keith probably knows Cooper, Friendship, and Lowry's capacity.
I know you can do like 4.5 on the side you sit on, the home side.
Man,
I wonder if both
spring
sides will be
game
open.
Saturday. Maybe I am coming to Lubbock.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
We'll see.
Yeah, you get the spring game and you get Baylor.
I'll see if I can finesse my way into that. I would love to.
I mean, if you need to birth some goats, you can do that too. But
Well, they were actually due this weekend, so I don't think they'll make it till next weekend. I don't know when they'll be born, but maybe I could stop there like Friday, and then I don't know if I could get to Lubbock for the baseball game Friday night, but maybe I could take in spring ball and baseball Saturday, and then I don't know. We'll see.
so I think the spring game will be well attended. I think it'll be maybe more attended than it has been. You know, we went last year, and the year before in 2021, it was well attended, but only because it was like the first garage sale back. It was a huge garage sale. And so there was probably 10,000 people there, but 6,000 were in line for the garage sale before it started, and it emptied out pretty well. I rewatched some of the spring game from last year today. Shuck's second pass of the game was a pick six to Rayshon
remember.
Williams.
Yeah.
I forgot it was that early. It was his second. It was the second play of the game was a pick six.
I also remember because I think we were all fixated on the quarterback position.
Oh yeah.
I think Donovan threw like 2 passes. They just like didn't let him throw it. And then poor Barron was in there with the threes.
Yeah.
And he was just scrambling
running.
over and over. You didn't get to see him air it out at all. He was just running for his life.
Oh my God.
Over under good crowd on Saturday.
Yeah, good crowd. Over. Yeah.
Oh, hey, that reminds me. If you're a listener, a Twitter follower, or a Parlay Picador from Patreon, send us some spring game prop bets. And when we do the midweek Dave Campbell's episode, and maybe we can get Tech Hoops guys help on this to set some lines. It's so hard to do because you don't know format. You don't know who's going to get what number of reps. But let's come up with some fun spring game props and make those picks this week.
Yeah, we could certainly see some like first touchdown kind of props and set some numbers there. And
Yeah.
will a quarterback run for a touchdown, that kind of stuff? Because they'll
Like this guy or the field kind of take 2, take 3, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, he had two. I think Chuck had 2 or 3 turnovers last year, so we can set it at 1.5 this year. He had the other pick where the guy batted up at the goal line.
That's the one I'm remembering. But you're talking about
There was another one to the sideline,
he jumped that sideline route.
which we've seen before.
Not recently though. Not since the Baylor game.
Yeah. Okay. I'm on the Chuck train. I'm not getting.
Hey, I'm still living on our 4-game win streak to close out the season.
Yeah. It kind of put me back into a flashback when I saw that today. I was like, oh, I forgot about that.
And I'm focused on Wyoming.
Absolutely. Chase says he could see new uniforms coming out with the new Big 12 and the updated stadium next year. And I did talk to a person inside the athletic department early last year about new uniforms. And he said they were close to the deadline to putting anything in for him because Under Armour takes so long. So I don't expect new uniforms this year.
It's like I kind of get it, but at the same time, we've seen a white, a red, and a black throwback top. We've seen a black and a white throwback lid.
Yeah.
And we've seen red, white, black, and gray throwback pants. It's like they're in the warehouse somewhere.
You have the ability to go to those uniforms full time.
Yeah.
They would not
just
be new uniforms, but they would be full time.
They're designed, they're manufactured, they're fitted. Yeah. Just wear them.
It's the end of a long day of work. What refreshment are you reaching for first? In italics.
Dos Equis or Miller Lite is usually my go-to.
Dose. I drank some Rolling Rocks yesterday. I hadn't drank much lately. I had some Rolling Rocks, and they were really good. I don't know if it's because I hadn't had them in a long time, but I really enjoyed them. That's an underrated beer for me. First, though,
if a rock rolls onto you and you suffer a catastrophic injury,
there you go.
Give our friends over at Barnett, Howard, and Williams a call. They specialize in injuries such as rolling rocks. BHWlawfirm.com if you want to learn more. 3 double Texas Tech grads. They also do criminal defense, family law. One of the only law firms in the state of Texas certified for Title IX student litigation. I think they're a proud sponsor, proud supporter of the Gambling Gauchos. Maybe they're just a supporter. Not so proud, but we're proud to have their support.
Absolutely.
Barnett, Howard, and Williams, BHWlawfirm.com. Should a rolling rock fall onto you? How's that for a segue?
Yeah, I was trying to get there earlier to that sponsor. I just couldn't do it because it would have been at the expense of what we were talking about at the time, and I didn't want to do that. It's annoying the amount of money we pay Under Armour, being one of the original 4 schools to be Under Armour, and that we don't get a priority. Yeah, Under Armour just is not good. At that, they're not. They don't. It's not Nike. It's not Adidas. It's not some huge corporation. Now they are a big corporation. They're Under Armour, but I don't know. You don't have anybody to lean into. To me, I still want to go Adidas just based on the fact that you have Patrick Mahomes. Could you get Josh Young? Does Josh Young, is he with anybody?
I don't know.
Well, Under Armour signed him up, and then you can have Josh Young do some stuff.
I am team do whatever you can to get to Nike or Adidas unless you go full-time Under Armour throwbacks.
Yeah. Well, I like the Under Armour gear. Like, they make good stuff, maybe not good basketball shoes, but beyond that, I think all of it is quality. I would like to Oh, here's a good comment. Tech needs to stop switching up the uniform so much. Iconic brands don't do that. Just go back to the black throwback helmet and make that permanent along with the rest of the throwback uniform. Yes.
Agree.
I want black, white, black on the road. And you can go red or black depending on the week at home.
Now, almost every college football program is guilty of this, but when you turn on the TV and Penn State, Texas, USC,
Alabama.
Ohio State are playing Alabama.
Not Ohio State anymore.
I was going to say, that's why like almost everybody's guilty of it.
Yeah.
Like, you know what team that is. It's instantly recognizable. And that's where, like, you can turn on a Tech game and confuse it for San Diego State, Utah, Cincinnati. It's like, just wear the same, not the same exact colors every week, but like,
Yeah.
that stretch from, I don't know, 2010 through 2014 when you were like doing the ombre and the American flag and the
Yes.
patriotism.
Never
it was just
quit.
Like I love America as much as the next guy, but can we wear our school colors?
Do you love Texas as much as the next guy? Because you hate those uniforms and I love them.
You like the Texas pride?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I thought those had potential. Like, put the Texas flag in the double T or put it on the shoulders.
Yeah. I liked it on the shoulders, yeah. You didn't like blue on the helmet?
Not really.
I think I'm the only one that likes those.
Also didn't like the top half of the helmet being white and then the bottom half red.
Yeah.
That's just a weird way to stripe. Like, okay, just wear your normal black helmets and do like a red, white, and blue stripe
Yeah.
and put the Texas flag in the double T. Like, if you want red, white, and blue in it, do it that way, not just all over the helmet.
After losing a baseball game and a player from a 5-13 team, will the sun come up tomorrow?
Depends who you ask.
The sun will come up tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow. Why are you power tripping? I think this was to you, Kyle.
Why am I power tripping?
That's what it says. And then there's another comment that I'll leave to the Discord mailbag.
I don't think I power trip.
Let's see. What happened to the Parlay Picador Twitter account? Are they safe? And then that guy answers, he had a baby. One Twitter account is enough. And then Kyle, are you in the FFA now? People wondering because of the goat birthing.
No.
No, you have goats at the second house you have
At the property.
at the property.
Yeah.
Big time city boy Kyle out taking his weekends to birth goats.
Out in Jack County, population 8,000.
Even Kansas State is iconic with their consistency. Yeah, I agree. I think Kansas State and Texas are two of the better uniforms just because you know what they are and they're going to be. And Kansas State, they look like the Dallas Cowboys, but they've done it forever, and that's their look.
That was so funny to me all football season when we did the uniform rankings.
Yeah.
People were like, why is Kansas State so high? It's so boring. It's the same thing. Everyone's like, no, that's why it's good.
Yeah.
Like, it looks good, so they don't have to wear 8 different uniforms.
I'm excited for Oklahoma and Texas to be 13 and 14 every week this year.
Oh, man. This is going to be a lot. 14 to go find every week.
Oh, man.
Brutal. But, hey, somebody's got to do it.
They also say Texas Pride. You mean the Houston Roughnecks? Yeah. Have you seen the Houston Roughneck uniforms?
Yeah.
They look like those. They're pretty bad.
Yeah.
Pretty bad. All right, that's all we have, I believe. Final thoughts?
When is your birthday?
May 1st.
Okay, just if any of our listeners needed to know that.
Hello, y'all. Wait for you. You say it?
Oh, you said it.
Okay.
You said it all, man.
All right.